So average day, we're arriving here at around 9 o'clock in the morning, getting everything fired up. We've got around 30 minutes before service, and from there we're very rapidly jumping into breakfast and everything else whilst doing prep at the same time. Varies from day to day depending on how busy the place is.
We usually start with me helping to get our oldest son ready for school, breakfast time with the kids and that kind of thing. I would drop him off at school and I'd get the train into town and I'd head to here, which is the gym I work at, Encore. Usually start around 10 AM, I do my first class, and then throughout the day I'll do a number of classes. In my downtime I'll do a little bit of work over in the reception area there, get my own workout in.
So we're currently just off Goulburn Road in West London, which is where I'm from, and this street would have been where I spent pretty much all my childhood, eating every pastry under the sun. And looking at little markets of things that I couldn't afford. So yeah, it's really special to me. So my family's from, it's where I went to primary school, and I just know the area like the back of my hand.
We're in Hampstead Heath Park at the moment. I come here a few times a week to play tennis with a friend. I started learning tennis around a year ago, and yeah, I've just been trying to practice consistently recently. So I work in a legal tech company as a marketing manager, looking over like 8 different brands, if not more sometimes, I feel.
Recently I've been pretty much pretty on top of like my, I guess, training schedule, you could say, preparing for the finals. It has been pretty full on. I've got like this really well kitted out schedule of things that I need to learn, I want to learn, I need to do and list out, and I've got this really comprehensive, I guess, notes on that, both on my laptop and then physical as well. That's been really fun to do.
Growing up, I think I was very fortunate that I learnt food tech at school. So I think I always looked forward to trying new recipes and going into food tech classes. So that's part of my growing up. But also I think my family are pretty foodie, and we also like to travel. Whenever we traveled, there would always be a type of food I'd want to try, or they would like to try with me also. So I think growing up, I think food has always been almost like how people breathe. It would open a multitude of doors for me, not only professionally, but I think also in terms of friendships. I think I'm looking forward to make friends with people who have the same interests as me and love for food, but also have mentors. I've been learning my whole life, but I don't think I've ever been passionate about what I learn or excited to learn. And I think this opportunity gives me the space to be excited and to do external research and to watch those cookery programs and to read those books and to speak to different types of people.
To be honest, in Eastbourne there's not tons of restaurants. I think as well that's why I like cooking so much, because you can't always go out and find specific cuisines near me. So I like to try things myself and see what I can do. When I was growing up, I used to do a lot of cooking. I started making my own dinner when I was probably 14. Not by force, I just chose to make my own dinner, and I think that's where my love started to grow as I experimented, and I felt it gives you independence as well when you're young and you know that you can do things by yourself. And yeah, ever since then I've just always done it as my hobby.
Food kind of plays a part in making my life exciting, and I also get to experience different types of art forms outside of my own kitchen. When I go out to eat I also regularly go out to eat for my work. So I get to go from like fine dining places to like fast foods to see like the different quality of foods and different ways they like present food. And I also take inspiration from that into my own kitchen.
Well, I've been chefing now for around 9, well, it's flying by actually, it's getting on about 11 months in total. Initially that started off kind of going part-time with being on leave from shipping and then making a decision to not go back. Getting the scholarship would completely change my life in terms of I spend a lot of my free time playing around, looking at molecular gastronomy, fermentation. I'm currently reading through the Noma Guide to Fermentation, for example. Gaining a scholarship would allow me to explore that further and really elevate my skills. As much as I enjoy cooking good English food in the kitchen, I'd love the chance to elevate my skills, see how far they can really go, and have the chance to kind of cook full-time experimentally and challenge myself, which I think taking this scholarship would give me the chance to do. Okay, service please.
I got into cooking pretty early. I remember the story. My mum came to pick me up from school and she couldn't find me anywhere. And I ended up going to the after-school club I was meant to go to, wasn't happening that day, and I ended up walking into a cookery club. And it was just by chance, and I absolutely loved it and fell in love with it, and then went every week after that. So I'm really grateful that the original class was cancelled and I needed to fill the time and stumbled into that one. That was when I first properly cooked. In my work as a PT, fitness instructor, obviously food is a very important part of that. You know, if there's no point going to the gym if you're going to cancel it out with a bad diet. But I guess I'm really interested in finding ways to have all the flavour and have all the joy of food. I don't think it needs to be restrictive. I think I'm definitely not a fan of the diet industry. I think that is such a big industry because it doesn't work. That's why it does so well, because people keep coming back to it. It doesn't work time and time again. I just enjoy real food, wholesome food that's going to give me lots of energy when I'm teaching, you know, maybe 6-7 classes a day in here on my feet all day, lugging these weights around and doing all the demonstrations and stuff. Food is... Napoleon said, you know, army marches on its stomach, right? And I think the same is true in here. Food is really important.
I just love bringing people together with food. I think that's how I was raised. Like in Ethiopian culture, everyone eats off one plate. Like no one has their own portions, and it's kind of like that time in the day where everyone sits down and just like is almost like disarmed by the act of eating and just shares, you know, how they're feeling or whatever. And I just love like hosting. I love like bringing my friends together, and obviously like I run the supper clubs that's all about combating loneliness and building friendships. And food is so important. We didn't really eat out very much because it was expensive, and I have like 3 siblings. So my mum just kind of like made up for that by making everything under the sun. And I just like loved eating. That was like my favorite pastime. And I was just so fascinated by all the different cuisines that would be made in my household. And I also think just like growing up in West London, like there's so many rich, massive cultures. Like I'm Ethiopian, there's a really big like Habesha Ethiopian Eritrean community, there's a really big Portuguese community, there's a really big Caribbean community, and so like I would have ate all of these foods. And I think what's really cool about growing up here and what I love so much is that the places that I would have eaten all the time were really accessible.
I see the scholarship as an opportunity to really push myself and focus on developing my skills that I know I'm able to work in a kitchen, work under the pressure of a high-paced kitchen, and even when it's very busy, not break a sweat too much and keep things under control. So having that side of things, and I've worked in a variety of kitchens to allow myself to see different ways of kitchens operating, and nothing's put me off yet. So if there's a chance that I can keep refining my skills and take it to a much higher level and step back into kind of a Michelin environment, which is where I first started cooking with, I've moved away from that into these kind of kitchens purely to learn graft and develop basic skills, make mistakes and learn. So to be able to progress back to stepping back into where I started from, but at a higher level, understanding what's going on, not just trying to keep up with the common chefs running around like a lunatic and figuring out things as I go. It'd be nice to walk into that environment and be able to cook good quality food and see how far I can take it.
They say you can learn wisdom through like 3 ways, whether through reflection, imitation, or experience. And at least at this point in time, obviously, like, I'm trying to draw from as many chefs and many influencers, people I admire, people I revere, and draw as much from them, right? And so that meant I was, deep diving into all of my cookbooks again, and as well as like trying to draw like from resources online for everything I can find about, the chefs I admire. My folder that did sit there, which was all my collations from all the times I've been to the Cordon Bleu for the summer festivals and for the demos. I had the pleasure of going through multiple classes during the festival dates with like Chef Nicolas Fouchette, who I absolutely adore. He showed us this tropical vegan pudding, technically, which was like coconut, mango, peppers, and coriander. It was the most perfect, delicious, like small thing that was first, vegan of all things, but still it was incredibly creamy. And I was like, how long did it take you to make this? And I was like, I just kind of took like an evening, I think, just like putting it together. Didn't think too much about it. I was like, what the hell? To be able to like come up with something as cohesive as this with only taking like that much time, I feel like, is incredibly impressive. I guess also like admire that like the Cordon Bleu is bringing like these sort of minds and have them as instructors.
Well, my favorite restaurant in London, I think, might be Le Petit Maison. I don't get to go there that often, unfortunately. But yeah, that is one of my favorite restaurants. And another one is actually Solip, which is also a bit on the slightly pricier end, which I also don't get to go that frequently. But actually Solip was opened by an alumni of the Cordon Bleu and is actually one of my favorite restaurants. Nowadays, with my busy schedule, I tend to order a lot of things just directly online, but when I do have some time over the weekend, I like to look at like local grocery stores, just to see like what other things that you normally don't get. Didn't know wet walnut was a thing over there, and I think I'm gonna give it a little try.
Well, I mean, for the last kind of 10 years I've ventured into all sorts of stuff, and sustainability has always been a big part of my life. I'm very interested in that, and particularly with being involved in the shipping industry and stuff, I've always been quite aware, especially going to like sensitive environments like Antarctica and stuff, of the impact we have on the world. And I've always tried to be low impact, and my kind of food's been quite varied, kind of exploring veganism and other bits of that, and then kind of start to realise that blindly going vegan isn't really going to save the planet, but starting to source local food is. So I'd say my kind of diet and food's been quite varied. Wasn't the most exciting growing up. It was very old school kind of English. Loads of shepherd's pie. Everything was like meat, potato, vegetables. I've taken a massive interest in it in terms of sustainability and wanting to learn to cook, because I see a lot of places, the huge amounts of waste we produce, not just in a restaurant but as a society as a whole. and changing ways we cook things. And I've started to read from restaurants like Silo on the restaurant end of things, but I'm also going in and looking at stuff right from the base. So I read a lot about kind of farming sustainable practices and kind of how we can maintain soil quality and improve crop production and things like that.
Going out to Ethiopian food, it was, we were paying like £30 for the whole family. And so it gave us this like amazing experience where we could go and like eat food in restaurants for an accessible, reasonable price. And it was really good food because it was made by, those people from those communities. And it was more of a communal thing instead of kind of like going out for a fancy dinner. And I think that for me was just like, it just gave me this sort of like, base level of like, that is what I expect from my food and that's how I like to eat. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized that that's just like not really the standard. That's what made me realize that I was so lucky growing up that I always ate like restaurant quality food at home. And it really inspired me then to be like, you know what, actually, yeah, anyone can do this, anyone can cook. And I want to be able to provide really good food that's made from the heart. And that's really accessible to the people around me because that's what I was raised with, and I want to give that back. Going out to eat, going to restaurants, it doesn't have to be this thing that like breaks the bank. You don't have to be like spending insane amounts of money to get a good service and to get good food. That's not what it's about. It's about bringing people together. It's about trying something new. It's about experimentation.
Yeah, I think my wife is sort of a mixture of excited for me to have the opportunity, apprehensive about the kind of shake-up that it will involve in our day-to-day life. Like anything, it's a huge opportunity. It's a huge shift from what I'm doing at the moment in my day-to-day life, which is both incredibly exciting and incredibly scary, both for me and the people around me. I think my kids are probably too young to really understand. Certainly the youngest is way too young to understand. They just kind of take things as they come, which me and my wife could probably learn from, to be honest. Take each day as it comes and just jump in with 2 feet.
Regardless if I win or lose, I think it would definitely only increase my passion towards the culinary industry and would definitely open up my exposure to how the industry works and maybe different areas that I want to continue exploring and expanding my skill sets in, and how different flavors and textures work together to create something so perfectly balanced yet comforting. Whether it's something that is so simple or something that someone has never tried before. I really want to master the art of perfecting dishes, turning basic ingredients into something unforgettable. Being a true magician is how I see it.
If I won this scholarship, it would turn it from a hobby into something that feels like a viable career path. I think one of the things I was speaking to the team about at the interview was, I guess I have a lot of ideas for food businesses all the time, but you kind of feel you don't have the legitimacy, you don't have the background to be able to do it. My mind is always kind of fizzing with little creative ideas of things I'd love to do with food, but I think the main thing that the scholarship and a training at Le Cordon Bleu would give me would be, I guess, a confidence. I think the big thing is confidence, a feeling of legitimacy, like you are able to have a seat at the table and do these things, which I guess when you're kind of on the outside and you're just kind of an enthusiastic home cook, it's hard to kind of feel that that's possible.